Hello and welcome back to the Men's Health Built for Life podcast. I'm AT, Men's Health Fitness Director, and as ever, I'm joined by the effervescent Shephard.
Fizzing with excitement about our guest today, AT.
Yes, today we are joined by Brian Wood. Brian is a highly decorated former British Army infantry soldier who was awarded the Military Cross for bravery during the Battle of Danny Boy in Iraq in 2004.
Yeah, after returning from Iraq, Brian was investigated as part of the Al-Swedi inquiry, which was a prolonged legal process that placed him and other soldiers under suspicion for serious wrongdoing for years. Ultimately, the ruling was that the allegations were unfounded. The solicitor that led that inquiry was struck off and served a number of years suspended sentence. A couple of years back it was now as well. Brian, it's good to see you. First things first, the hair is on point, my friend.
I'm nearly as good as you at the moment. I'm trying. But honestly, I've got to say, this is one of my biggest dreams come true, featuring on, Men's Health podcast, because Men's Health magazine has been a huge part of mine and so many of having, part of our sort of journey from operations and having that time to sit back when the tempo is really, really high to, just divulge into Men's Health magazine. So it's a bit of a pinch yourself moment, and I'm such a fan of it. And yeah, it's very surreal, and I don't think I really qualify to be here, but thank you so much for inviting me.
I would say, AT, a lot of the nature of a lot of the people that Brian has served with, and Brian himself, they are exceptionally humble about who they are and what they've achieved.
Yeah, no, I mean, hands above the table. I'm not slipping him a fiver to say that. But, as we're over the course of this conversation, I think in short order, people are very much going to be saying that you are qualified to be here.
Unquestionably. Just to explain a little bit about that, because we were chatting before we started recording and you were saying, there's certain things that within the army that keep you going, your touch points when you're off in another country and you're with, you might be in theatre or you might be doing something else, the touch points back home. What are those things that keep you all grounded, that keep you reminded of home? Because clearly Men's Health and the magazine has been a big one for you and some of your
I
friends.
think maintenance morale is so important, and obviously mail from home is at the top of the list, because you do miss home. Just because you're serving doesn't mean you're like non-emotional and you're a universal individual which just has no emotions. It's far from it. We look forward to receiving parcels, and in the parcels is obviously different types of magazines. The Nuts magazines back in the day was very popular, and obviously Men's Health, with the nature of us being frontline soldiers, which pride ourselves on being robust, being fit. And it was just a huge part of our weekly kind of infill from when the mail would get dropped off, and we would look forward to it. So like I said, it's a very much surreal moment for me to be sat here today.
Glad to have you here.
It's a real duality of man there, isn't it? Nuts and Men's Health. Across the spectrum. We touched on this briefly in the introduction. You wrote a book on the events that kind of unfolded when you returned from Iraq, which was adapted into a drama. Could you tell us briefly about that period of your life, a little bit about the Battle of Danny Boy itself, and then what unfolded upon your return?
Yeah, I was never really destined to be a frontline soldier, if I'm honest. I'm not a bad football player. I was at Chelsea for a year, didn't make it. Then I was picked up by Reading Football Club. I spent 3 years with Reading Football Club, and on a very wet Saturday morning, it was my final trial day, and it was also a day where if I was going to make the cut or not. And I was brought into this porter cabin in front of the coaches, and unfortunately, I wasn't offered my first year pro. So it's kind of my first real experience of being rejected and being told no, which was pretty hard because the football was the only thing I knew, other than having a very regimental history family. My dad was serving at that time. My brother was also serving. So I felt a little bit left out when I went back into my house with these conversations. So off my own back, I just got the number 18 bus from my hometown in Borden and went to Aldershot to the recruitment centre. And I just said I wanted to sign up as a frontline soldier, but I want to go into my local regiment, because both my dad and my brother were in Scottish regiments. But I was happy where I was location-wise in Hampshire, and I wanted to join my local regiment. And off I went on my journey of service from 16 in 9 months, going into phase 1 training. eyed wise open, like trying to be flexible, taking all this information, shouting and screaming, discipline, just trying to soak it all up and take each day as it came, really. But it was unbelievable foundations for me to offer me real purpose. There was sense of belonging straight away, that team cohesion, understanding leadership at a young age also, and understanding failing is actually not too bad, because you learn from that, you grow from it, because you fail all the time. I'm still failing at a lot of things now, but I just see it as learning. But I got to understand that when I was very young, and then progressed into phase 2, which was my trade training. So that was delivered at the ITC Catterick, Infantry Training Centre Catterick. So that was understanding what it was like to become a frontline soldier, and that was delivered over weeks and weeks and weeks of modules. And then once you pass that, you then go on to your regiment. And early stages, I went on 2 tours of Kosovo, which were peacekeeping tours, and then from there I went on to Iraq, which was my first tour. I actually did 2 tours of Iraq. My first tour of Iraq was 2004, and then in 2011 I went and as a senior commander went to Afghanistan. But a lot that's been published and put into the public domain was my first tour of Iraq, which was a really demanding tour, very kinetic war fighting from the day we stepped into Iraq. It was overly aggressive, and as a 23-year-old commander who I've got responsibilities and young lads who look up to me for a bit of clarity in chaos, a bit of calm also in mad chaos, and it's important for me to be that sort of individual that can restore a little bit of order when things aren't going to plan. And I was doing that day in, day out. And on the 14th of May, I was involved in a significant battle that was known to be called the Battle of Danny Boy. And it probably was the battle that changed my life forever, if I'm honest. It seen us as British soldiers being ambushed. Then there was a call made that we were to dismount the armoured vehicle that we were in and to launch a counter attack on this trench that the militia fighters were in, and we were heavily outgunned and outnumbered. But with belief, true grit, tenacity, teamwork, we launched, and it was a very bloody battle, very traumatic. There was 9 prisoners taken that day, and 20 militia that were killed, and it was hand-to-hand fighting. So it was really close and personal. And when I got into that first main position, that trench position, I took a bit of time to take some water on, and there was so much going on, so much trauma around, and it was the first time that I'd seen like dead human beings, and they were in really bad ways. And trying to sort out the prisoners of wars and segregating them away, and just like so much going on. And as at 23, I've never really prepared for this, so I was trying to do things sort of in the moment, and managed to get a foothold there. And then my company sergeant major, who's someone a lot senior than me, asked me if the battlefield was clear, and I knew it wasn't, because on the approach some of them started to fall back. You get the diehards that will stay and fight to their last breath, and you'll get the others that will withdraw. And so I knew the battlefield wasn't clear. And then he told me to change my magazine to a fresh magazine with bullets in, and to go and do a clearance patrol up at the south side of the embankment. And then from there, we become decisively engaged a further 2 times. On the right-hand side, my sergeant major eliminated that threat. And then on the left-hand side, I nearly tripped over this fighter who had a rocket-propelled grenade launcher, just about to put it into my chest. And I was quicker, and I engaged him. And as I took a knee, all I could hear was him gasping for and choking for breath. And I didn't lock that sound out. And I then turned to my sergeant major and said that we need to have more men on the ground. It's only you and I. There's more people out here. We need to move back to the main trench. And he agreed. And on the way back, there was 2 other fighters stood up, threw their weapons on the ground and surrendered. We brought them in. brought them back to this main trench where there were so many British soldiers now. It was so many people. And I then sat down on the bank, just full of sweat. It's like 50 degrees out there, fighting hard with adrenaline. It's like an out-of-body experience. Sat down, had another drink. And then there was a call made that we had to go and recover all the bodies that were on the battlefield. And for me personally, it's really difficult to live with taking another human being's life. You know, I could easily sit here and say it's my job and it's what I do, but it's not like that. You know, this was a 17-year-old kid. I've got a 16-year-old now and a 21-year-old, and a 17-year-old kid, and having to take his life was a real demand, and it's still something that I live with each day. And to then go back and pick him up lifeless, to then load him onto the vehicle was it's something that it's hard to accept, really. I wish I could just like purge it out of my head, but I can't. But I can live with it now. I went through therapy and managed to understand that whole process because I needed to. And so it was just a really chaotic, hard day, but that was one of many for that 6-month period. 6 months, half a year. And when you spend half a year fighting, you become very exhausted to the point of chronic burnout. And you've still got to manage a way to motivate and lead your men each day. And when you're taking casualties and when you're doing some really testing stuff mentally, you've got to understand to find a way to go back out that gate the next day. And I always say there's no greater leadership than asking men or women to put their life on the line for you. And for that, they need to know that you are a very strong leader, meticulous. They have to have so much trust in you. And when you've got that, you know, you can work hard as a team and sort of deliver and execute some hard missions because you've got that trust with one another. So pretty tough day. And obviously then what came years later was the hardest thing I've ever experienced.
The hearing you talk about it, Brian, is spine tingling, just because the way that you paint the picture is still clear, so visceral for you, unquestionably, all these years later. Understand the price that you've paid emotionally and mentally for what you went through. Do you think there's anything that can prepare you for the reality of that? Am I right in saying it was the first time since the Second World War that any members of the British Army had to fix bayonets? And fight
from the Falklands War, I think, was the last time.
Yeah.
And but it's the bayonet thing gets me because it's a secondary weapon system. It's the norm. It's an SOP. It's a standard operating procedure.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because from the outside, it feels so
and they said that in the courtroom.
Yeah.
They smothered me in the courtroom about it. And it's like, it's just a normal day. It's just not what you do.
Yeah.
Those who could fit a bayonet on their weapon system did that. It's just, like I said, it's second nature. If you didn't, you're doing your job wrong. So, but when it's close and personal, it is really, really demanding. And it was trench warfare. We're going in and really getting amongst it. That doesn't happen very often. So, one, to be alive. Two, for my men to still be alive and not take any casualties. And I mean, we come close a lot when, effective enemy fire is if you're taking casualties or the bullets are landing in and around you. That's effective. And this was really effective. And it was 120 meters of going across no man's land with dedication, determination, and that whole attitude of, we need to get this done because that is root of all evil, which is try to kill us. And we've got to counter that. So, at 23, it was a big job.
Well, that's what I wanted to kind of touch on because, I mean, then obviously you're always as old as you've ever been, right? But 23, does that now, looking back, does that seem incredibly young to you to have been in that position?
With those expectations? I don't think so because you're given the best training, you're given the best assets to deliver this incredible training and you are prepared. So when it happens, it's only when I look back now because I think to myself, I've got two young lads, but I'm sure they would have done a probably better job than me if they end up going to war. So I don't know. Look, it's our job. Yeah, we've got a responsibility, and as long as we work hard as a team, you can achieve so much. And yeah, it's a young age, but people do some unbelievable stuff at 23 and younger. So we're not.
I want to come into the present, but before we do, if you could just give us, what was the main thrust of the charges, the insinuations against you in the Al-Swedi inquiry? What was it you touched on there? They really grilled you over the bayonets, and what was it about that particular battle that they wanted to take the people on the ground to task for?
And interesting what you said as well, Brian, because we met after the inquiry had been thrown out when we first met, but you said the inquiry and what happened was the hardest thing you've been through. You've just described hand-to-hand combat with an enemy that, to all intents and purposes, just wanted to obliterate you, and yet it was the inquiry that was the hardest thing you've ever been through. Yeah,
I was trained for that, Ben. I wasn't trained for what I went through when I got back on home soil, because these allegations that were headed up by a very respectable lawyer, Phil Shiner, went public with, it was on whose orders the BBC launched Panorama, and it made us out to be barbaric murderers, saying that there were innocents of farmers on the farmer's field. We turned up and basically executed them, took them back to our compound, and then done more executions, and then just taken 9 prisoners of war. But the amount of weapon systems in the trench and how prepared they were, I just didn't really believe it initially, but then it just went supersonic to the point I had like press outside my house, and my son Bailey, who's now serving within the parachute regiment, he was kind of only young and experiencing this. Having a young family was really demanding, because you can take chunks out of me all day long, but when it comes into the house and to the family, it's a different type of pressure. And I had a lot of legacy trauma that I hadn't really gone in and revisited and spoken about. Then the pressure from the media, because all of a sudden, from being awarded the Military Cross, which was one of the most incredible days of my life, other than this, being on here, being able to take my mum and dad and my wife to the palace and being awarded that decoration by Her Majesty the Queen, the late Her Majesty the Queen, was unbelievable. And then to then have the press coverage and the allegations of unlawful killing, so murder, mutilation and mistreatment, broke me. It broke me to my knees. And it was unfair how we were treated. And there was no support for me or my family. No one spoke to me and said, does your wife need any support from us, or can we look after you, reassure you, like a little bit of a ring of steel, because I needed it, but it was nowhere to be seen. And that's what sparked me going to therapy, because I needed to go on the rise again, because I was low and I had a lot of dark days. And I had the courage, and it actually made me a better leader, a better person, a better dad, a better husband for it, because I just needed to do what was right, and that was being accountable for what I was going through, having the courage to create dialogue and speak about trauma, speak about pressure, anxiety, lack of sleep, because I was worried sick that I was potentially could go to prison for something that, people say was the bravest thing in contemporary warfare. And it was all lies as well. So I was trying to get my head around this all, and it was just, it was very, very, very difficult for me to do that. But therapy was the part of like my post-traumatic growth. It was important for me to go through the therapy and then start creating a really cool med pack that I use. I still use it now, and really go on a mission to give back, because it was a real great purpose for me, not to think about what I was going through, but I wanted to give back to people that really needed support. So it all kickstarted. Then I ended up getting on a bike and cycling across America through 3,000 miles, all in aid of our regimental benevolent fund. Was the first real endurance event that I did, and managed to raise a great bit of money. And like Ben said earlier, these allegations were thrown out there were deliberate lies, reckless speculation, and ingrained hostility, and I wouldn't want to wish anyone to go through what we went through. It was unforgivable. But, I wrote the book because there was a lot of stuff that was covered over. I needed to be accountable for myself and release the truth. And it went on to the Sunday Times bestseller at number 3. Then it went to number 2, and I thought, actually, I might have a good chance of going into number 1. I said, who's number 1? It was Michelle Obama. So I got no chance. But, I mean, for me, I am the most ordinariest bloke. And to even publish a book is beyond my wildest dreams and my expectations. But I did it. And then from that, then to be optioned into film and become a BBC 2 90-minute drama called Danny Boy. It's like, I can't really believe it. And but yeah, it's like, if you don't let your past define who you are, and you still push on and still wake up and attack each day with a little bit of purpose, then what you're going through, it will surpass, I can promise you. Because if I can get through some crazy allegations and the press, which delivered some real, hard-hitting quotes about me, which were untrue, it was hard. But if I can get through that, then if you're struggling, you can definitely, get through your days, I promise.
Can't recommend the book enough. You can find it, Danny Boy. And also the drama, I assume, is probably still on iPlayer.
Yeah, it is, yeah. You can stream it.
You can stream it now. If you go to the BBC iPlayer, it's interesting because we've been friends now since that first interview. How did it feel watching someone play you in a film and watching your book and your experience being dramatised like that?
It was, very surreal. A few months. Anthony Ball, though, what a actor. Honestly, he's an Irish lad. Turned up, he was speaking like me. It was weird. So, all right, mate. I was like, random. He knew me better than me. I mean, he's done his research, and then seeing him like conduct his craft was just like so good. I was on set and seeing him like fully in charge and getting a grip with everything that he needed to do. And I'm a stickler for detail, so I was fully involved in the consultant side of it on how we move as a unit and as a team. But he just embraced it. It was phenomenal. And he's just gone on to some incredible things with like Masters of the Air. He was involved with Spielberg and Tom Hanks, and then the House of Guinness that he's just been on, and he's just been killing it. So, I love to see people do well, and for him to play me in that was just like brilliant. I loved it. He's a great guy, and I
started with you and ended up with Spielberg.
I know, it's crazy.
Simple transition,
Honestly, it's like, what is going on here? But yeah, it's mad how the direction of life takes you. Yeah. When you think you're done, you're only 50% done.
The journey that I've been lucky enough for men's mental health, you've become an adventurer, you've become an ultra runner. Essentially, it strikes me that there is something really important about your life physically, about what you do. I think the Arctic Adventure, which some of our listeners and viewers may well have seen on Channel 4, which is another extraordinary challenge that you put yourself through alongside 3 of your great friends who'd all served and been through various other experiences. You use the phrase movement is medicine.
Yeah.
Can you discuss what that means for you?
Yeah, my head is like Pandora's box. It's like, it's not all aligned. So if I don't do my fitness, I start to have some pretty demanding days. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. For me, getting out in the fresh air, getting some cadence done, getting some miles done, it just, like with the endorphins, it sets me up for the day. So I wouldn't say I'm addicted to running. It's just, I feel now it's like the most important thing for me with medicine. So I have to factor that in my daily routine, whether it's running or going to the gym or doing something. I just align myself with that because me mentally, it supports me. And it's very scary if I don't do it, because Lucy would tell me, my wife will be like, you need to go for a run. So if I'm being a bit aggy at home, she'll be like, just go out or for a walk, take the dogs out. And it is a game changer for me because it's something that I need to live with for the rest of my life. I just can't get rid of the stuff that I've been involved in and seen and smelt and stuff like that. So I manage it by sort of doing my daily routine, and keeping structure is so important to me. So that's kind of where it's at with my fitness side of things.
Yeah, I always say to people that exercise is not necessarily going to solve all of your problems, but it's going to put you in a much better place to go out there and do it yourself.
I agree.
Right? You're often, you really are. This is very sort of highfalutin way of saying it, but you really are a different man when you come back from a run, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of equivalent to a good night's sleep, right? You're in a different headspace. Chemically, you're in a very different space, and it can be, provided your relationship with exercise is good, it can be such an incredible reset, right?
Yeah.
And just gets you out of your head, gets you into your body.
100%.
Yeah. Talk to us a bit about what words like toughness and masculinity and grit mean to you, because I noticed that actually throughout the last sort of 20 minutes, you've used words like tenacity. All these things to me are very fairly sort of military coded, but in the mainstream, there's a lot of talk about what masculinity is, what toughness is, what resilience means. What do those words mean to you now, and have they changed kind of over the course of transitioning from the military and kind of what you went through outside of active combat?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of them that's pushing for change from getting away from this toxic masculinity, if I'm honest. I want to be a role model for my boys is what keeps me really on the straight and narrow. And I believe that we lack role models at the moment, and I want to be the right example setter. Yes, I've been through a lot myself and I've been challenged, and it's just part of life. Life is beautiful, but it's such a hard demand. But with, doing the right thing, trying to be the best dad that I can be, having two young men who have got, the devices at their hands whenever they want them, they get fixated into who they think is a role model. But it's down for me to have, my accountability as an individual, say, look, you need to start, do some research on this individual. That's a role model. That's someone who gets it. That's someone who has been you're not going to get, there's only a few people out there which will be more masculine than Foxy, than Carl, than Aldo Kane, and myself. We've all been to war. We've all been on the tip of the spear, but it doesn't matter. We showed, and I still show real vulnerability at the moment. It's actually okay to be vulnerable. It really is. And to talk about what scares you, what sort of pressures that you're under, talk about it, talk about the past, because it's never going to go away. But as long as it doesn't control you, it's fine to talk about your challenges, what have really hurt you in the past, but now pushing forward. And I'm one for dialogue's huge as well. And like I said, it's getting hold of the right role models which set a really good example. And there's a fine balance. And for me, being a bloke is difficult enough anyway, but choosing the right people to align yourself with is so important. The right characters, the right foundations, people which aren't scared of showing some sort of emotional vulnerability. That's courage, that's leadership, that's people I want to be around, because we don't get it right all the time. And I've done all this. Get on with it, get aggressive with it, stiff upper lip, don't complain, don't moan about it, don't talk, don't go and ask questions about your mental health. I joined when I was in 1998, when it was rigid like that. Didn't do me any favors at all. As long as we can figure out what's going on, then it might save someone's life, because the biggest killer in males under 50 is suicide, because we feel the pressure or we feel that we can't speak and reach out. Can't have it. So
I think one of the most compelling things about the Arctic Adventure, which if you haven't had a chance to watch that, you can get it on 4 online, you can stream it. It's the most extraordinary physical challenge for the 4 of you, but each of you has been through a professional military experience, and what Carl faced physically and what he has faced since what happened to him. Jason talks openly about standing on the top of a cliff and wanting to jump off that cliff. Aldo talks about the difficulties in his life, but also, much like you said, when he first joined up, you were told to suppress your feelings. You didn't talk about your feelings. And then all of a sudden, here's these 4 guys.
Pressure cooker.
It's, it's watching you on that challenge, because the physical challenge of what you did. We should just explain a little bit about what what the physical challenge that the four of you faced on the Arctic adventure?
So it was 514 kilometres. Well, it's 500 kilometres, but then we got told on day 8 that we had to do an extra 14 kilometres because reindeer had come in on our route and they get priority away. So then we had to do a massive...
You had to go around the reindeer?
Honestly, we had to go around the reindeer. And
Rudolph!
It was brutal, honestly. It's so hard. 10 days was a cut-off. We were...
So where talk the people through where this was and the terrain. Yeah, because I think it's important.
We started in a place called Overkalix, which is Swedish Lapland wilderness, into the Arctic Circle, and then just trekking hard each day. We had to cover no less than 30 miles a day, but you're pulling a Polk 45 kg because it's got all of your kit and equipment for that 10 days.
It's a sled.
It's a sled.
Right.
But the elevation en route was so demanding, and when you watch it on Channel 4, you see how tough it was. The first day especially, it was a grind. The meterage of elevation, pushing that thing. I'm thinking, am I going to do another 9 days of this? This is brutal.
And then the other thing I think that struck me, and Aldo makes this point, because it's snow and you can see 5, 6, 7 miles in the distance, you're not
Frozen
getting
lakes.
anywhere. So you're just walking for miles and seemingly not making any progress.
Yeah, frozen lakes, and you can see for miles and miles and miles, and it just becomes, you're in your own head for such a long period of time because you don't talk while you're moving because you're one behind each
Single
other,
file,
and obviously you've got hanging off the back of you is a sled, so you've got that meterage, so you can't hear, you've got to shout. So you have to get comfortable with spending long periods of time in your head. And like I said, mine's like Pandora's box. So I was going like doolally because I'm a people's person as well. So I just start shouting at people just for a bit of communication. They just get fed up with me. But yeah, I mean, grueling challenge. It got down to like sort of minus 18 to minus 22 through the night. And but we did it all in... to raise money for SAFA, the Armed Forces charity. We managed to raise over 190,000 within that 10-day period. So I'm so chuffed for the effort that the boys put in. It never broke us, but we had a few moments, as you do on them real arduous, hard endurance events. But we worked really well as a team. And like I said, if you haven't watched it, definitely go and check it out because there's a lot that you can take away from it. And I am biased, but yeah, I do believe that. I think we digressed because we were going to go and speak about the challenge, weren't we? The marathons.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that, which we will come on to. But I think it's what I'd asked about because during that challenge, you used this phrase that I think that is so pertinent to you. I think it's really, really relevant to me as well because I've met Lucy. She's the most patient woman in the world, putting up with you.
Massively.
But Annie's the same. She says to me, put your trainers on, go for a run. Mm. You know, it's such an important thing for my life now.
Yeah.
I'm not pretending I've lived the experience that you've had, Brian, but there's so many correlations between where people are when they're dealing with stress, pressure, anxiety, worry, concern, all the other stuff that's thrown at you during the day that actually, whether that movement is trekking across the Arctic Circle or dragging a trolley or dragging a sledge or doing the ultimate sacrifice that you did, which was 952 miles.
No, I did it twice, didn't I? So 2022, I did it 25 marathons in 25 days, which actually now is not a lot because there's some people out there which just absolutely smash
that.
But
it just gets crazier.
I get it. Yeah. But for me, it wasn't about that. It was the reason, the purpose behind it, because it was 635 miles.
That's what it was, sorry.
And we then managed to round it up to 25 marathons. And but I did it for those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice and been lost in conflict. And it was 635 lives that were lost during the Iraq and Afghanistan campaign, 2 campaigns that I've been heavily involved in. And I wanted to do something unique and different. And I just basically thought, I'm going to do this. And what I did was I got T-shirts made bespoke, and I had 26 names of those who I was running for that day printed on the back. And then I just started off announced it. So once you announce on social media, you're committed. So on Instagram, I was like, I announced it, and it's like, right, I'm gone now. So each morning I would take a picture of the names that I was running for that day, and then put it on social media. I had 20,000 as my target for fundraising for Walking with the Wounded. It was a charity, and Ben was brilliant with me on this. Like, he came out with me on a good few marathons, and also got me on Good Morning Britain to, basically tell people what I'm doing. And it just went absolutely mad. And day 6, my body was trying to traverse into this long haul, and I was really struggling with my Achilles being like so swollen. But I would wake up in the morning, look at on Instagram, and I'll be getting messages saying, "Hi Brian, today like you're running for my dad," and just want to say thank you very much for keeping his name in lights, and really appreciate what you're doing. And then another day, I had a lady come down from, I think it was Colchester, in a parachute regiment T-shirt. It was her son's T-shirt, and then she ran about 6 miles with me, just speaking about her son. And it was just like that whole challenge became so much bigger than me, and it just went mad on social media. Good Morning Britain were like relentless with it as well. They came out a lot and done live feeds on where I was, and my son at that point was in Harrogate. They managed to get him down and surprise me. I wasn't even aware of it, and I was very vulnerable. I was on the edge because
really was.
I was deep into these miles. I had family and friends of the fallen joining me. I was nearly complete, and then all of a sudden they managed to get my son released from Harrogate and surprised me on camera as well. I was like, don't believe this, and ended up having a big old tear up on live TV. But I mean, an incredible challenge for those who represent, in my opinion, the best 3% in this country. Those who are willing to serve and those who pay the ultimate sacrifice, they need to be remembered daily and especially yearly. And it's important to me. And that challenge finished with, I think it's like 169,000 raised, which I was so chuffed. And then the following year I did it and brought on the Falklands campaign. So I did 35 marathons in 35 days. But the cool thing is the RAF flew me out to the Falkland Islands, and I ran 4 on the Falklands, and that was a different kettle of fish. But I was so strong on them 35 marathons. I only done like 6 over 4 hours.
Wow.
So I was like, my body was just flying. No one came running with me because my pace was quite decent. I was like, couldn't keep up. But I was like, this is brilliant. Like, compared to what my body was like on the first challenge, compared to this one was amazing. But the whole Falkland Islands came together and really supported me. And then I managed to raise, I think it was like 47,000 on that one. So beautiful challenge for the most respectable people that I know who have given everything that what we have today. So special.
You touched on something there that I actually think is really important, and I think with charity fundraising and taking on big challenges to raise funds for charity, etc., it's really easy to focus on the big number at the end. But I think that there's circles of concern, right? And as you touched on there, the fact that someone messaged you and it would obviously touch them massively that you were commemorating a loved one. Yeah. And that's worth running a marathon all day long, right?
100%.
That's worth. And we've had someone on recently who said a similar thing. They were tackling a challenge. Someone met them at the finish line to say, thanks to you putting out this message, my partner got the help they needed and didn't take their life. And it's, I think it's incredible the knock-on effect, the downstream effect you can have accidentally. You set out to raise money, right? But you probably had a huge impact on so many people's emotional lives there. In a way that maybe isn't even quantifiable. Like, you've raised all this money, but I think maybe what I'm trying to say is it's. I think a lot of people. I'd put myself in this category. I've done a lot of charity stuff, but sometimes people maybe get a bit of imposter syndrome or a little bit like, I don't think I'm going to raise this huge amount of money. But you're actually really having, even just highlighting a particular cause or doing something in someone's name is in and of itself more than worth it. And I think the way I've rejigged it in my head over the last couple of years is like, I don't need to raise £250,000. Like that's my effort. Essentially I kind of look at it as like, just because I can't raise £250,000 doesn't mean it's not worth me doing this thing.
Of course.
Like
it's the awareness.
Yeah, when you kind of reframe it like that, I found that a really useful way to look at it.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's thinking of like taking on a challenge like this, just do it in someone's name. Yeah. Do it in a cause.
100%. It's the same as on.
Takes care of itself.
I was like, I never got really many likes on that post I did on Instagram, but the messages that I got were so much more important than the actual likes. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's the impact you're making. Yeah, of course.
Right, in many ways.
And that's so important. It doesn't matter. The money's important, but the messaging, getting that across is much more.
So you've really taken to this world of sort of ultra endurance. What are you doing with that sort of professionally now? Because I know you've got your Ultra for Charity movement. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I find this kind of off the back of that last point. Yeah, I find this amazing.
Yeah, a good friend of mine reached out to me and said, look, have a look at this initiative that I'm going to launch. I'd love you to be involved. And he knows that I do a lot of running. I love testing myself and it's good for the soul. So I looked at it and I thought, this is a bit of me, because it's also giving back. So essentially, it's a very, very cost-effective way to go to different buy-ins around the world and conducting an ultra. But it's a little bit different because you can do a 25K, which is not classed as an ultra really, but it's for the beginners because we want to be inclusive and get people, out walking if they want to walk or shuffling.
It's a bit more than half a marathon.
Yeah, of course. It's exactly 100%. That's why we added that. 50K. Or 100K over 2 days, and you'll stay out either under the stars or within tents, and then set up again the next day, and then you'll get on with that second day. You'll pay an entrance fee, which is, in my opinion, really cost effective, cheap. If I'm being honest, for that whole ultra game. I mean, money's still money. It's, I understand the current climate that we're in, but in that ultra game, we are very cheap. And inclusive of that is your transfers, your hotel, and your food within that hotel. And then you'll be self-sufficient if you're out for that 2 day or overnight stay for the 100K. The caveat really to it, it's not really a caveat because it's giving back, is once you sign up, you'll then be expected to raise, I think it's £750 or £800. And then the money that is raised total will be split to the 4 charities that we have nominated for that event, and it goes straight to them. So it's completely separate to the whole running sign up. It automatically gets generated and then it's split so all the money raised goes straight to the charities. And the one we just done in the Sahara Desert, the 4 charities, which we've done it for veterans charities, and then we're going to be switching, so it'll be the veterans this one, then we're doing children's charities, cancer, and then animals, so the series. But the veterans one we just done, we ended up raising 228,000. Wow. So a massive joint effort, and then it was split between the 4 charities. So
one of the amazing things, so basically you offer massively reduced entrance fees for an ultra challenge of some sort on the proviso that they raise a certain amount of money, £750, £800 for whatever the chosen charities, nominated charities. Yeah. So if you want your children's charities or your cancer charities, you're passionate about animals, there will be an ultra challenge, part of Ultra for Charity, that will get people to that start line, but at a significantly reduced cost. And this will involve, the last one was the Sahara.
Yeah, so the Sahara that's just been done, which was unbelievable. Like seeing people. A good friend of mine was 4 stone overweight 8 months ago, ended up going to hospital, rigged up to the machines. They basically told him, if you don't sort your lifestyle out, you're going to be dead within the next couple of years. And he was like, I need to sort my life out. Signed up for this ultra. And he done the 50K.
Did he?
Got over the line. Yeah, shed a load of weight beforehand. But now he's like an ultra athlete. He thinks he's a main man now. So he's like signed up. Honestly, he's out running on all these different challenges in Hampshire. Fantastic. Signed up to the Albanian mountains is our next one. And then we go to Sweden and do the Arctic in the ice, and then we go to the jungle. We've not announced what and where the jungle is, so yeah, we'll keep people on the edge of their seats with that at the moment. But yeah, Sweden is going to get announced at the National Running Show because we're going to be there. But definitely go and check Ultra for Charity. I mean, it's 3 veterans that are involved in this, and we love giving back. We're very selfless. It's so important that we try and do our bit to support, and I'm a massive ambassador for it. I love it.
Isn't it? If we go back to the beginning of this, when Brian was saying, "I'm not really sure I'm worthy of being sitting on this podcast," that's what I'm saying
honestly,
about that.
It's
the sort of the nature of what you've achieved. I know that there'll be people listening to this, Brian, and watching it who will be really inspired by what you've said, but maybe will feel a little bit overwhelmed by the idea of getting out there and doing stuff. Have you got any simple, actionable tools that you think they could take away, just in terms of helping on their journey to whatever that might be, to sort of help with their mental health or help with their physical challenges or whatever they might be facing at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's very important to take each day as it comes, and remember you're really important as well. So it's important to look after you. I know we've got so much going on at the moment with everything within the day, but it's really important to offer yourself a bit of self-love and care. And so your priority, because if you're half-cocked, then you're going to deliver half-cocked. So if you can look after yourself, even like your nutrition, your sleep, you then, you optimize your performance, and that's really important. And I never knew all this when I was growing up, and I wish I had people that I could jump on and listen to for some advice if I thought that this is someone who I respect and would like to follow. But yeah, I mean, talking in whatever environment that you're in, be happy if you're under pressure at work, talk about the pressure, because a problem shared is halved. So it's very important to do that. And yeah, just do what makes you feel happy. If you can't run, don't run, walk. If you can't walk, get in the pool, ask someone to support you. There's always a way. What we're very good at sometimes is finding a way not to do it, because we say, I can't. You can find a way to do something. I see some brilliant people which I don't think I could have done that, but they're out there, and whether it's in the gym and then on a hand bike because they're a double amputee, or someone is really going through some bad depths of depression, and I know their backstory, and I see them in the gym like just walking on a treadmill or just out with their earpods in listening to a podcast that is about men's mental health or women's mental health, or there's so much stuff out there, good stuff. It's just getting hold of it. And I'm not the oracle. Listen, I'm just like a normal lad, but if I can offer some advice, is just have a look at the right role models and people who really make an impact on you, and go for it, because you really can do if you set your mind to it.
I want to come back to that point on role models, but first I want to say the line, if you're half-cocked, you're going to deliver half-cocked. I absolutely love, and I think it's why I love people like you, mate, and why I think it's so important to have a big diversity of voices talking about this stuff, because there's so much information now publicly available and visible. We're almost saturated with it in terms of mental health in general, but for some people, some of it can either feel too clinical and it's kind of unassailable because it's scientific jargon, or it's a bit too woolly. And I think voices like this, like you're going to reach people who maybe, if they'd hear something like, and this, I'm not picking on any particular phrases here, just putting it off the top of my head, they're going to hear something like, put your own oxygen mask on first, which is it's a refrain we hear a lot, and it's going to bounce right off, right? But to hear someone like you say, that really nice, if you're half-cocked, you're going to deliver half-cocked. And it's why I think it's so important that people like yourself who have the time to really put a lot of thought into what you've been through and how you've come out the other end, and how you want to represent yourself in the world with, the way you say it, the way you deliver it is so important, because that's going to touch someone that, like I say, other messages are just going to bounce off of. You mentioned role models, and earlier on you mentioned, you've got teenage sons. they're on social media and they are perhaps, if I'm saying some information is a bit clinical, some is a bit woolly, and on the other side we've got the sort of the manosphere as people label it. And you mentioned they might gravitate towards, your sons might gravitate towards some of these figures. What do you see as the biggest danger coming out of that space, or of men trying to really define what they think masculine is, and maybe not getting it right? What do you think is the biggest sort of dangers coming out of that space?
I think it's sometimes you've got to allow people to make mistakes, because you can preach and preach and preach, but if they're fixated with an individual online, which I don't like, I can always preach and try to steer away, but there's only so much we can do as parents, and there's advocates for the right role models, but sometimes you've got to allow, for me personally, my sons to maybe make a mistake, but if I hear him express, get a grip and just get on with it, and I will interject and go, we don't work like that in this house. This house, we've got standards, and what are the standards, and we need to be accountable for them, because you're never going to stop people preaching that real toxic masculinity. You're not going to, but it's about other good people countering it, because we need more people to counter and come on and say, actually, listen, I've been pretty masculine in the past with my job and being on the front line and punching into trenches, closing and destroying, taking lives. It doesn't work. You have got to be a half decent soul. And yeah, you can still be quite rigid in your ways, but there is ways to communicate that, and it's not just being that aggressor and being that someone who's pushing and pushing and pushing, because in my opinion, that's not an example setter. That's not a good role model. That's not someone who is by example. It's difficult. We're in a difficult period at the moment, and that's why I said we lack quite a lot of role models, and it's important for people to step up.
I think the really interesting thing, knowing Bailey and Charlie, and is what you want, and what you and Lucy are doing, unquestionably, is arming them with the ability to listen to what's being said, but understand what is the right way about going about these things. And Bailey's followed you into the armed services. Charlie is set to do that. Similar ages to you when they joined up.
Yeah, both similar.
How are you and Lucy coping with the fact that you've got two boys that are following into everything that you've been through, your experience as well? She went through with you, and they've now gone into the armed services, and what it's bringing them and what they're learning.
First of all, I'm so proud of my two boys. That we are very patriotic as a family. Bailey chose to go and serve his country, knowing everything what had happened to me. That's credit. I mean, fair play to him. He done it on his back, and that's what he really wanted to do. He wanted to serve his country, and people will have a counter argument on that. But for me, I was love it, and I support him, and that's why I keep myself fit. That's why I try to keep myself as robust as I can. I'm 46 this year, but for me, it's a number. I'm still laying down the gauntlets. I'm still pushing hard and challenging the boys when I can, because I'm acutely aware as well that in life, you've got to work hard. You're not entitled to anything. So you've got to really push and push and push. And, I try that with the boys, but I'm overly proud of them. I'm the British Army's biggest fan. What's happened to me is, it's unfortunate. I think I was a little bit unlucky. I'm not going to allow, what's happened sort of overshadow my boys' service to their country. I just think it's a great thing to do. We're in a turbulent time at the moment, so we need good people to stand up and be counted and to represent this island. And I'm really proud of my two boys. Charlie's soon to go off on his journey. I don't think Lucy would sit and say the same as me. She's very proud of both boys, but the house is going to be empty. It's going to be really sad to it's hard for Bailey's room to see empty, and then with Charlie's room as well, soon to be, bags packed and gone. But I just love what they're doing. I think it's great, and the what they'll get from that within service is their discipline, their understanding of values and what that means, their integrity, their leadership ability, and their teamwork. They only do 4 years. What they'll get within that 4 years would set them up for some tough times ahead, because that's what it does. It's a foundation. It's an organisation that strips you down and builds you up with the right armour and the right resources to go and get life, whether it be in the army or after your service outside. And that's what I just love about that organisation. So I'm the British Army's biggest fan.
Just want to point out the one time.
Oh, I know what's coming now.
One time I set the Woods the challenge of joining me in the Spartan race.
Twickenham.
Andrew, all about at Twickenham. And we're with a couple of friends. My friend Steve Coleman, who trained me up, did it. Ben Stedman came along and joined us as well. And we did the
I can't
Spartan
believe you're saying this.
obstacle race. Lots of our listeners will have done a Spartan. There's loads of different obstacles, but there was one particular obstacle where you had to pull a weight up on a pulley, and you can only keep going once you got the weight all the way to the top. It was a really long way.
I reckon I chose the 50 kg sandbag that I had to put up, and he'd done the 25 kg. No, all jokes aside, we pulled the same weight sandbag, and I was done. I only got 3/4 of the way up, and I looked at him. He was strong like bull. Couldn't believe it. I was fuming. Got all the way to the top. The bell rang to release. He went off, and he looked at me and was like, weak. I was like,
I think at the time though, Bailey was probably about 8 stone wet through.
Yeah,
he was tiny. I think he tried to pull it up, and I think he went flying up and went spinning around. These days, he's a para. He's absolutely ripped. He's properly hard. Yeah. But it's still my favourite thing. Whenever I see him, I just remind them, don't forget, only one of us completed that obstacle.
You're right. You did. Fair play.
In your defence, he is a unit.
There's some front cover of that magazine.
That's the difference. I had a bit more ballast, I think. That was the other thing.
Legendary.
Right, should we do the quick fire?
Let's, yes, we've got a round of quick fire questions for you. We'll serve them out. You just hit them straight back. I'll let you kick off.
First one, Bri. If you could train with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ronaldo. Cristiano.
Yes.
Your go-to workout when you're short on time?
A blast around the block running.
What's one movement you absolutely hate? One exercise, one movement.
Probably an overarm heave.
An overarm heave, yeah. Pulling anything up on a pulley, that's bad as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very bad.
If you could only do one strength and conditioning move for the rest of your life, what would it be? And you can have running, one strength move.
Yeah, I think running is overly important to me. And I don't know, yoga is really important, isn't it? It's a good core strength and quite demanding. So the sessions that I've been involved in took me by surprise. And I just think that works, that whole all-round strength and core.
What's the one song on your workout playlist that guaranteed to get you fired up?
I love a bit of country. And even
country too.
Big country fan, yeah. So it's not the best music to fire you up, but it puts me in the zone.
Bit of Rascal Flats.
Yes,
like that.
Love it. Zach Bryan,
Zach Bryan.
Love that.
I got introduced to Zach Bryan on the week this
here we
weekend.
Go. That's out of order.
What would be your death row meal?
Tomahawk steak and chips.
Oh, you're a steak man.
Yeah, right there with you.
Right. I have a lot of steaks on this round.
Yeah,
there's a lot of meat.
Yeah.
You can jump into a portal. You can speak to your younger self, Brian, just before they go into the careers office. You've got 30 seconds. What are you going to say?
Embrace it. Work hard. Look after people around you. Love your family, and be selfless and give back.
Awesome.
Beautiful stuff.
We've loved this, Brian. Thank you for joining us.
No, honestly, for me, it's a massive, bucket list ticked for me. And I really appreciate you having me, and keep doing what you're doing, because this is unbelievable. And one day, I might get in the magazine. I don't know. I think my days now have been cut like I don't know.
50.
Yeah, you're an example.
Brian, if we can get you fit for your 50th,
I know.
You've got a chance.
Now, on all...
Let's face it, Lucy loved it. She messaged me.
Oh, she was loving it, mate. You done me head in. So many more love it all, let me tell you. Annie, very lucky she is. Fair play. But
Thank you for joining
honestly,
us on the
thanks for
podcast,
letting me come in.
Bad news now,
Appreciate
though. We're not done.
No, one last test for you.
Our
These
dead
questions,
hang
you're going to
challenge.
see me off with these, aren't you?
Let's see how we get on, because
How long did you do?
plenty. Don't you worry about how long I did. Don't worry about how long. You just got to focus on yourself, young Brian.
Oh, I'm snapped with this.
The Men's Health Built for Life Dead Hang Challenge. Where's Brian going to come on the leaderboard?
Let's take a look. Woody, you look nervous, mate.
I'm nervous, very nervous. I can't be at the bottom of that leaderboard.
You've done so many extraordinary challenges, and yet this
but
seems to be the one that
no,
I...
strength is a bit of a weakness.
So we're going to test you on the
Yeah.
dead hang,
Yeah.
the Men's Health Built for Life dead hang. Let's see where you come on the leaderboard. Wait, calm.
All in good time.
Calm. We've got a series of general knowledge questions that are about British military and football, because we know
Yeah.
they're your two specialist subjects.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce hair care products, but I wasn't allowed, apparently, because that's the other specialist subject that you have. Andrew's on the stop clock. We'll give you every 15 seconds so you know where you're going.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ready for this?
Take a
Yeah.
grip.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and hang.
What is the lowest commissioned officer rank in the British Army?
Lieutenant.
Second.
What similarly named rank sits immediately above sergeant?
Colour sergeant.
Staff
No,
sergeant.
staff sergeant. Colour sergeant.
Which rank is abbreviated to WO1?
RSM.
Warrant Officer Class 1.
Regiment Sergeant Major.
What insignia traditionally identifies a sergeant major?
Crown.
Yes,
Royal
we'll take
Coat of
that.
Arms.
What is the highest rank in the British Army?
4-star general.
Field Marshal.
What does stand at ease mean compared to attention?
Relax.
Yes, you have that. What command is given before marching off from a halt?
Quick mark.
Correct.
Which footsteps are first on the command quick march?
Left.
Yes. What pace is a standard British Army quick
Dunno.
time? 116 paces per minute. That's coming up to
Come
a
up to a
minute.
minute. Which British football club has won the most top flight league titles?
United.
Correct. Who is the all-time top scorer for England's men's national team?
Harry Kane.
Correct.
What year was the Premier League founded?
Stop the clock! Stop the clock!
Wait.
Stop the clock! Oh! How are your forearms?
Shaking.
They are shaking. So we will maybe give you one or two of their others when we look into it. This wasn't rigorously tested like most daytime TV quiz shows questions are, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 correct answers.
That's
Isn't
not
too
too
bad.
bad.
I felt like once we got into the football, you were more into the sweet
Yeah.
spot.
Oh, you smashed that, yeah.
7 correct answers, and what about the time?
1 minute 12.
1 minute 12
Good, isn't it?
seconds. To say.
I'll be better next time.
Redemption arc, redemption arc. Thank you very
Fun's
much.
over
Woody.
is not the method to go.
We warned you.
You did, Bobby. You did.
When you got
You
little
did.
hands. Woody, it's been awesome to see. Thank you for
No,
joining
thanks,
us on the
guys.
podcast, man.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.